welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. So it doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type. If you work hard, you can create an amazing life in sales. Today's guest is no stranger to the journey, someone I'm very excited to hear more from, Mr. David Olcott.
Hey, man. How are you? I'm so excited about being here.
I am crushing the day, and I appreciate you being here. I want to jump right in, man. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Crazy sales story. Goodness. There's so many of them to choose from, but I will tell you that once I realized I really needed help in sales, my father was a natural salesman, but once I realized I needed some help in sales, I was in real estate selling we were selling to the stars. And I was the business manager to the number one selling real estate in the world. And we were selling to Sylvester Stallone, Madonna, Prince, all the stars, all the heat players on Star Island, right? And our office was a yacht. So we were in South Beach, Miami, selling to all these friends. As a matter of fact, one of his best friends was Gloria Stefan, from the Sound Machine kind of stuff. So we had all these celebrities around us and stuff like this. And I remember that we were in the middle of a sale and there was a beautiful woman that came on and she was so stunning. She shocked me and inspired me. There's some beautiful women in this world, but there was this thing about her, this energy, and she threw me off my game so completely. I was like, duh. And we just kept this conversation going. And I just said, screw it. I'm giving up all this sales stuff and everything else like this. And I just sat with her and I just talked with her through. And her husband was the person who was buying the house. Well, of course, that's not ever true, but he was purchasing the house. She was buying the house, right? Mm. And later on, she came back to me and by the way, she said no. And then it was 2 weeks later, they came back, bought the house at the asking price. And I sat down when they were at closing. I was like, what? I mean, I screwed the whole thing up. I mean, I was totally in the way and stuff like this. And she goes, no, you're exactly what I needed. You were authentic. Mm. And that was a game changer for me, man.
It's so interesting as you look back over sales careers and you're looking at the different conversations and the sales that you've made, and you start to reflect on what worked, what didn't work, and how you can repeat the process over and over and over. And so I'd be curious for you, you've done real estate and, looking at your site, you have all these things going on. How do you pick what to focus on, knowing that once you learn how to sell, you can sell anything wherever you want?
Yes. And well, if you really want to take a look at life hacks, right? Biohacking, you're going to realize if you really wanted to learn some skill sets, the very first thing you have to understand is negotiation. You better start understanding how money works, time management, and sales is going to be in the top 5 for sure. The next one would be dancing, but that's just for your romance side of things. But if you really want to learn some core things that you really want to investigate and invest in yourself about, sales is absolutely top of the list.
I love that. So when it comes to negotiating, one of the things that I always see people doing is they're negotiating to win. And I'd be curious your perspective from a sales standpoint. Is that the right way to negotiate?
If you really like to lose, that's a great way to do it. Yes. So it definitely creates the outcome of there's a win-loss situation. And, I studied martial art for the last 20 plus years of my life called Aikido, which is about blending with people, right? So the whole art is based upon when a samurai lost their sword in battle, right? You couldn't block the other person's sword with your arm or kick them or grapple with them because you're going to die. So it was learning about how to have someone with a weapon coming forcefully at you and blend with that person so that you could stay safe and then use their energy to dismantle them or whatever you needed to do. So if you take that to the modern world where we don't dismantle people, right? Hopefully, it's about what's the win-win situation. So Stephen Covey comes back into play here where it's like, hey, I'd like to win today, but I'd also like for you to win. Because in most situations, it's the win-lose situation. I will tell you, you may get the sale today, and often I did, but you didn't get the sale tomorrow. There was no customer base based upon that. It was just a sale. And if you do that strategy, here's what's going to happen. You will be chasing money your entire life. Money will not come to you. You will not build that customer base. And that's where your real growth happens.
I love that. And it's so interesting how we have to kind of shift our mindset and the way that we think about these sorts of things. And I remember being a young sales professional and being like, well, if I can't win, then nobody's winning, and this just ain't right, and it's not going to go that way. And it's when you learn to sell from a place of service, knowing that if I help this person win, it's inevitable that I'm going to win, unless you've made the decision to completely, give them your whole right arm or whatever, which is often not the case, because when you start allowing others to win, it really gives them that confidence to return the favor. And I would be curious, from a congruency standpoint, how often do you see people going in saying one thing and then doing the complete opposite? And the follow-up to that, how do you retrain them to think differently?
Wow, so much to unpack in that question, my brother. So let's really talk about this idea behind congruency. You just nailed such an important word in this physical plane, that your congruency has everything. Now, I grew up with a guy that was so beautiful. This guy, right, that I'm saying, when he walked into the place, he owned the place, and every girl wanted to be with him. And I was his wingman, right? And I was following him around like this little puppy. What's going to happen today? But he just had this ability to be so congruent. Now, let's get to that. So he was doing these things, and I was a great observer. I was watching him, Drewy. I was watching him do these strategies, these behaviors. And so I was like, well, great. I'm going to do the same thing, because the strategy is what's making that work. And so I learned the strategy, and I walked up to this beautiful girl, and I got slapped in the face. Wait a minute, that's not how I did it for him. What's happening here? And so you have just hit on one of the primal things in sales and in life, that you can learn all the strategies you want. You can get on all these talking heads on YouTube and everything else and go to every seminar, read every single book. And I know, because I've done it. But if you don't have the belief system to support the behavior, there is no congruency. Congruency exists when you believe and you behave congruently. And that creates a frequency that people feel. And since I didn't have the belief to support the behavior, I wasn't congruent, and the reaction was what I got. It was offensive, what I was saying. Yet it was attractive or romantic when he said it. What was happening here? I will tell you, if you use that metaphor, you'll start to understand sales a lot, because this is where our biggest challenge. That's where our people come to us and train with us, because they want to be congruent with who they are and how they're presenting information. And until you do that, you're not going to see the big life, the quantum leap that everybody talks about, because you understanding you building your character, you're building your identity. That is the most important thing. And there's 6 sales steps in the process. We all know that. The first one is not even on that list. The first one is you got to get to know you. You've got to be congruent with you. You've got to work on you. And if you're not willing to do that, you're always going to struggle in the sales game.
Ooh, we're on to one now. So we're going to go deeper on this, because I love the psychology aspect of sales. And as someone who has also studied the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming, I know that's something you're big into. I was excited to chat about this. I realize, and a lot of the times as we're working with individuals from a coaching or a leadership perspective, it is often the individual who is their own biggest roadblock.
Absolutely.
And it starts in the unconscious mind. It's the belief, it's the decision making, it's the way that we process information without having a lens through which to see it, that adds a level of bias to the conversation. So as you were just saying, it's like, oh, well, I just went and did what he did, and it did not go the way that I thought. And I've always loved sharing the book Steal Like an Artist. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's a great reminder that there's really no new strategies out here. It's just an amalgamation or a reinvention of what's already been done. And if you haven't taken the time to go within yourself and understand you, as far as why do you do the things that you do, what causes you to make those decisions or take those actions, and ultimately, how do you process through that? You can't help someone else take that journey. So talk to us a little bit about how you found that world and how you really started bringing it into everything you do now.
So, 26 years ago, I became master certified in NLP. And the way I got on that journey is I went to work for a guy named Tony Robbins, right? And I became his number one sales trainer in the world, kind of stuff. And I was fascinated. I mean, just blown away by this guy and what he was able to do with people and for people, and not so much for people sometimes, right? It was like a fascinating journey. And I was like, he's doing something that I don't have access to. So NLP was my next thing to be able to do. And I've spent years developing those strategies. So in the NLP world, as we do here at Samurai Success, we understand that, let's imagine a circle of things that your brain is manifesting things constantly. But the interesting part about it is that 95% of everything you're creating, manifesting in your world, the sale, not the sale, the girl, not the girl, the money, not the money, my physical health, not physical health, any of those contrasting viewpoints is being manifested. 95% of everything you've got in your world is being manifested from your subconscious part of your brain. Now, I'm being dramatic there because you and I are in the business of, hey, we're having this conscious conversation. None of this stuff, if you listen to this podcast, it's not changing your programming. You can yell and scream at someone. If you have kids and you've attempted this, you understand what I'm saying. You can scream and yell. Screaming, yelling doesn't change programming. Touching a hot stove doesn't change programming. Some people have to keep touching. Programming is what creates your reactions and responses to events in pressure situations. So if you don't understand that key core concept, then you're in trouble, because you're like, why did I do that? You just got caught off in traffic and you're like, I'm not having a great day. You got your great music playing on, and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off and you respond and react this way. That's your programming. For the last 30 years, Drew, we have been studying about how to reprogram that programming. Let's imagine you could take a behavior and something you don't like to do, but you know it's necessary for winning at the sales game, following up with people, calling the damn leads. You know.
Well, and I want to touch on that for a second, because this has been, and God always brings conversations around multiple times for a reason, and this is the download that I've been getting lately is call the damn leads is literally just a representation to do the work. And if you're in sales, like that is the one key concept, either calling the lead or shaking their hand, whatever it is, like creating a line of communication is what transpires to the sale. That's what gets you there. And yet, so many professionals, not just new professionals, but people that have been in the world for 10, 15, 20 years, they tell me, Drewby, I bought your Call the Damn Leads book because, like, I know I should be calling the leads, but I'm not. And so I have a theory about it. I'm going to hold mine because I want to know what your theory is as to why people who know that's the thing they're supposed to be doing have call reluctance or a hesitancy to pick up the phone.
So I know this is going to sound really interesting, but studying this for so long, it comes down to one word. Your behaviors are determined by your programming, your subconscious brain. And so if you're not liking something, like, for example, I used to hate to read. I don't know where I developed that strategy from. I was just like, I was like, but I knew reading was so important for my growth and my knowledge and my ability to evolve. I knew that. And I mean, I attended a Brian Tracy event, and he kept talking about books and reading. And that was my thing. I was like, I hate to read. And then I found a way to reprogram my brain to love reading. And once I did that, I've consumed literally thousands of books with that. I have done all these things with myself to prove that the technology works. But until I changed that, I was using willpower, motivation, and every source of energy I could to do the behavior that I hated. And by the way, when I was reading and hating reading, guess what my knowledge base was like? It was terrible. How about this? How about if you got me to call the damn lead, finally, thank God. And then I do, you can hear my tone about how much I dislike that calling you. What's calling lead then? This is where understanding the work. And I love that you said that, man, because so many folks are out there just going, yeah, all you have to do is believe about this. No, it's not how it works. You got to believe and you got to do the work, because that creates experience. And that experience is what makes masters of the sale.
All right, I'm gonna lean in on this because
Yes, sir.
I believe that people are hesitant to call the damn leads. They have call reluctance because they're uncertain. And
Yes.
uncertainty is something that will absolutely drive you crazy, and it will prevent you from doing the thing you know you need to do, knowing that that's the result that you're looking for. And so what I believe is that the most people are afraid to pick up the phone and call the damn leads because they're uncertain what's on the other side of that conversation.
Yes.
And what I think is that if you have a process or a framework through which you can explore the other side of that door, per se, it's kind of like if you're staring at a closet and you know there's some stuff in there, you're not 100% sure if it's still stacked up or if it's all going to come falling out of you like a cartoon and be like a landslide. You know you got to open the door. You know you have to deal with whatever's on the other side, and yet you don't do it. It's because you don't have a process through which you're going to handle whatever comes at you. And to me, I think this is the game changer for sales professionals is if you can program yourself to have a set of processes that you use no matter what happens, you can create predictable results. And that's what eliminates the uncertainty. So I'd love your opinion on that.
Well, it's obvious you've dug into this, man. Good for you. I really mean it. So, because most people want to stay on the surface of stuff, and you've taken the backhoe out, man, and you've just really dug into it. It's great. And really, the only thing I could share with you is just simply an enhancement to the level that you're already at, because you've already dug down deep where you need to be. So when you incorporate process and structure programmed, that's the perfect scenario of what you're really looking for. Because without both of those things, because one is really process is just a behavior, how I'm going to do something. And you know, as I well know in sales, yes without how means nothing. Somebody says yes to you, but they don't know how this whole thing is going to work. They've not given you a yes of commitment. They've given you a counterfeit yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I'm just agreeing with you just so I can move on and just stop you talking, right? And then there's the third S, which is really about, yes, I'm confirming what you're saying, but that's not a commitment. It's not even counterfeit. It's just, I'm just agreeing with what you're saying. So what is the steps that we can do that? And success, by the way, is defined. And people always say, well, Dave, what's success? And well, there's a million different ways that you can define it, but it has one element. It must be duplicatable.
Ooh. Interesting.
Now,
I like
let's
that.
think about that for a minute.
Go ahead. Yeah. Because I got something to add to that, but I want to hear the rest of what you have here.
So if it's not duplicatable, if you had success one time, it's not called success. It's called luck. In order for it to be successful, you have to do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, which means there's a natural, even if it's not written down, there's a structure or process to it. And the better you are at writing down that process, the more successful you're going to be. So you said it so beautifully earlier, just really adding to that. Now remember, process is nothing without the belief to support it. And beliefs come from your programming. Belief is a single element when there's something called the chain of command. It's just one element because your beliefs and your values, the way you ask questions, how you focus on things, your physiology, your feelings. You said it earlier. If I'm going into a situation where I'm uncertain, and we do that all the time, we're uncertain about stuff, right? How do you overcome that uncertainty? You will not, if your programming says you're not ready, because that's your belief. And as you believe, so shall you receive. So getting those things congruent is what makes people successful.
Ooh, this is so good. And so I've always said that success is a perspective. My version and is going to be different than yours, David. And if you went to the day we were born and you said, hey, you've got this beautiful son or daughter, what do you think their life is going to be when they're successful? It is drastically different than what we're living right now. And even if you went back to ourselves 5 years ago and say, hey, when you're 5 years from now and you're successful, what's that going to look like? We had no idea. It changes on the regular. So how can someone who's going through these phases and understanding that, success is a growth and there's all these different elements to it, how can they reprogram or rewrite their programming to be more successful?
So there's 4 primary ways that we know how to change programming. The first one is hypnosis. Actually, is a great way to do that. Second one is NLP based or Psych-K based, which are technologies we've designed to create structure around how the human brain works in neuroscience. Practice. Now listen, this is an important one because there's this old adage that people always say this: practice makes
perfect.
What if I suggested to you practice makes permanent?
I love that even better.
Oh, now as a sales professional, as a consultant and a coach, I will tell you that scared the crap out of me, because if I'm watching someone practice something really badly, guess what? They eventually end up perfectly badly.
We've seen a few of those in our day for sure.
So it's not only important what you practice, but how you practice that. And that's programming. So got over this one about this practice thing. And then the fourth one is being in love. The honeymoon effect, the things that it does to your body. As a matter of fact, you remember that model we talked about, 5% is being manifested, from your brain, of only 5%, 95% comes from your subconscious. In love, that flips. You're in the honeymoon effect. By the way, great book on that. Bruce Lipton's work on the honeymoon effect goes into a lot of detail with that. So when you're in that space, man, your body has a certain frequency that it emulates, and people just, oh man, things seem to be flowing so beautifully. And then the honeymoon phase ends, and then we get into the relationship, and it's not so pretty, and we go back to our programming, and the model switches again, and we're like, whoa, this roller coaster thing, right? So let's avoid all that, and let's get to this. So we actually created a technology called the I Am Studio, where we take all four of those elements. And you come into studio with us, you work for a year-long process with us to be able to develop your identity, your programming, and you write this down, and you come into studio, you record that with your own voice, your own words, and a theta-based frequency, which teaches your brain to open up and be open to things. And then you reprogram your brain to be able to do the characteristics you want to do and the behaviors you want to do. And this isn't just fantasy that I'm telling you about. For the last 30 years of my life, I've actually done these things so that I could prove it to myself.
I'm a big believer in practice what you preach. It's always funny when people buy something from us and I pick up the phone and I call them and they're like, wait, you're calling me? And I'm like, imagine the craziness that you believe that at this point in the world, there are people who say things and do the complete opposite, because it's true. That's really how it goes on. And one of the things that I love, and you kind of mentioned this earlier on, was like the authenticity and the congruence between what you believe and how you behave and the things that you do and how you execute. It all plays into this. And, I probably spent not as much time going through the training and certifications as you have, because I don't have the same level as you. But at some point, it is an investment of your time, energy, and effort to getting better, to reprogramming, to rewriting the programs you use and the actions you take to become successful. And while I'm sure, David, you and I could sit here and nerd out on this for like the next 5 or 6 hours, I want to be respectful of your time. And more than anything, I want to know how myself and the listeners can come find you, learn more about what you have going on, and really get a deeper dive onto this conversation.
Excellent. So best way to reach us is right at our website, samuraiSuccess.com. So it's SAMURAI success.com. The best way to reach us. We got all kinds of videos on there for you if you want to learn more about us, but that's the best way to reach us. And I think we just started on social media. So David C. Olcott is the best way to reach me on LinkedIn. And that's definitely a great place that we're actually building that. So we'd really like your feedback from the podcast as well if you're on there.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I always say, and I'm going to make sure those notes are down there in the show notes and everything, the links and all that, so they can come and follow you. But the best thing someone could do if they've been here with us, they've invested their time, energy, or effort into listening, because we all know how to make more money. That's easy. Time, energy, and effort are the things we can't buy more of, can't win in a poker tournament, right? No one gets a card full of them on their birthday. So if you've invested some of that with us today, I would love for you to share this episode, put it out on social media, send it to someone you know who's absolutely terrible at sales, knowing that you want them to improve. Do it because you care, but share this with someone. This is how we all learn. This is how we grow. You don't know what you don't know until you know, and then you have a decision to make. And so, David, what I would love to leave this with today is, let's say we're super duper blessed and someone who's just gotten into sales goes online and they're like, how do I be better at sales? And they land themselves on this podcast episode, and they've been very, very lucky to get the masterclass that you've put on. But if you could leave them with just one thing to focus on over the next 30 or 60 or 90 days, what would you say?
The most important thing I've learned about this lifetime is that you have to be willing to invest in yourself. That's the key to it. And I will tell you that what I realized is I thought it was very egotistical for me to invest in myself when I first started my journey. What I found here at the end of this, if you will, of that journey and moving on to my next journey is that getting to invest in yourself allows you to do one thing so beautiful that most people don't know it's elegance. And that is, it allows you, when you've invested in you, when you really know who you are, Drewy, you can literally get out of the way to truly be in service to someone else. And I will tell you, nothing is more powerful in a sales presentation than when you're sitting across from somebody who is being as present as you and I are being with each other right now. All the stuff going on in the world, man. There is nothing more important than this moment. And when you feel that, like we feel it right now, that creates connection. And that connection, we're going to lead you to an avalanche of sale possibilities.
Well, listen, David, I'm truly grateful that we've connected. I'm super excited to come follow you and learn more about your journey. And obviously, I know everyone listening should be doing the same because you have put on, like I said, a masterclass today on reprogramming yourself to become more successful, and not over like super high level. No, very tactical, very easy to implement things. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today.
Absolutely. Loved it. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. All right. If you're here and you enjoyed the show, send it to somebody, share it on social media, subscribe, leave a review, do all the things. But more importantly, you have a story. And I want to share your story on this show because this is what allows me to meet so many amazing people. And as I said, it doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality, you can create an amazing life in this business. And we want to hear your story. So head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your information. We'll get you booked on the show. And just like my friend David, we'll have an amazing conversation that will go on to change many, many lives. And that's what we're all here to do, is be in service to the people around us. So go call the damn leads. We'll see you on the next one.